Hello, my name is Donna Lucas. I attend Liberty University, and during this presentation, I will be reporting my group leading report. During this time, I will share with you my experience that I had with leading a group. And one of the requirements was for us to get together a group and facilitate that group. Um, Actually use all the skills that we had did within that course to apply it to the group that we had an opportunity to serve in. My meeting was on anger and it took place on Wednesday, April the 18th. The meeting time began at 6:30 and it went over until 8. Now, initially in my proposal to my instructor, I did mention that the meeting would be for an hour, but it did go over. And that was because there were others that still wanted to glean from each other and learn from each other. And how we actually felt comfortable with that was I took a consensus to make sure everybody was comfortable with going over an extra 30 minutes, and everyone was. So that was a blessing within itself that they actually got something out of it and felt it to be beneficial. The group took place at my co-leader's home. All five were familiar with one another and they were familiar with the location because my co-leader in the past have held Bible studies there, and the participants of the group have been to her home one time or another. So that was the best appropriate location for everyone. Our meeting consists of one male and four females. Each member were either co-worker, friend, if not both. The purpose of the group was to discuss anger management. This was the first time these participants actually got together. So it was the first time for them to discuss matters more on a personal level. So it was really new for them. There were only two members on two separate times that diverted from the topic of anger. As leader, I gave a pleasant reminder with a cutting off technique. A cutting off technique is something that we learned within the course. And when you feel like a person is diverting and getting off of the topic of what we're currently supposed to be discussing at that particular time. But I was able to reflect how what you're discussing at this particular moment comes back to anger. How does it come back to anger? So I was able to do that to bring in the focus. The next topic in this report I would like to discuss is the group dynamic content and the process of it. So during the beginning of the meeting, we completed a round and it lasts for about 10 minutes. The round was open using phrase to guess two truths and one lie. This broke up the uncomfortability between the members, this being a new personal experience. And even though two truths and one lie is considered to be an icebreaker, it also has the dynamics of a round as well. After the round, we began to talk about different scenarios. So I gave a scenario of road rage and how road rage brings in anger, and I even asked the group members in the group to brainstorm on possible solutions. How would each member handle that particular situation? Each member began to tell their stories about their anger in their workplace as well. So we talked about that. After two spoke about their experiences, I used a common technique that I use in the course called linking, where I was able to take one particular participant's story and feelings and relate it to someone else in the group and ask, is there anyone else that feels the way that XYZ feels? How do you feel about that? Asking them different questions. How can you relate to that? Also, I was able to use the technique of draw out, because draw out is when you actually want to try to gather a person that's really quiet, low, or laid back, and you want to get their feedback. You want to get everyone's feedback that's in the group to participate and make sure they're present. So I was able to use the draw out technique during the time. Um, during this time at the group, we talked about our thoughts and what triggers our emotions and trigger our behavior. And I also uh, drew a tree. And with that, I'm a visual learner, so I like to use demonstrations when I'm talking about different topics. So actually, what I did was I drew a tree trunk, and I drew roots, and I drew a tree, and I said, within the tree trunk, what are the thoughts that you may have? Is it, I'm not good enough? This person will never disrespect me like that again. And with those thoughts that you have, what feelings are birthed? Is it sadness, loneliness, anger? So we talked about that, and which really geared us in an environment or um, a learning piece of cognitive behavior. So we talked about thoughts, and we talked about feelings and how it triggers emotions and how it triggers your actions. And also changing those thoughts and feelings to get the results that you want. Also, I used eye contact to the member that was quiet, and then the member was able to step out and talk and process their emotions. I shift my focus with also worksheets and lectures. Um, Also, we talked about emotional mindset, rational mindset, and wise mindset within the literature that I was able to give to the members as they shared their feelings about that too. And at the end, we had a round that talked about, I asked the question, how helpful was it? And to give me one word on yes or no, or what could we have done better? So we talked about that as well. For my self-assessment as facilitator, I believe I did a good job providing the information. I was present, using active listening skills, body language, and questions. Even asking questions of how does this make you feel, and things of that matter. Open-ended questions were very important to draw out emotions and feelings and process them with different members in the group, letting them know that they're not alone in the anger that they feel. They're not alone in the thought process that they may feel, and how to get out of the funk, if I may say, of that. I used also self-disclosure for the members that when there were some participants that were not able to relate to one another. So I used my own self-disclosure story to identify with the participants or the members within the group. That actually brought more comfort and more trust within the group. And one thing I would like to say is there was one member, if I was to do anything different, um, I believe the most main challenge for me was when I discerned a member's pain and what she was experiencing. And if I could go back, I probably wouldn't have asked too much personal questions, because I don't think that was appropriate for that particular group at that time, and maybe that could have been a one-on-one type of thing. So I probably would have did differently with that, and discerning her pain and wanting to address it right away. but to stay mindful of what the process is and how the process is supposed to flow. So that's the only challenge that I had was that. But however, my whole thought with that was when you're providing group and self-help and counseling is the first thought is to do no harm, and you want to make sure you're appropriate and you're well qualified for everything that you do within a group. During the end, the feedback that I got from the group was that they enjoyed themselves so much that they want to continue at least doing a group once a month, talking about different topics in their life, different struggles in their life, different challenges they have in their life. And that I really felt good that I was able to be a help to that. My co-leader and I, we vibed off of one another, doing eye contact. We sat across. We were able to be in tune with each person that was in the group to meet the need and allow everyone to talk at an appropriate time. So there was a good flow of things, not anything forced. And I really enjoyed that. The conclusion is, again, that I believe the group was successful, and we plan to get together at least once a month. And this concludes my video of leading a group. Thank you for your time.